Okay, guys. I think third time's a charm here on this one. So, uh, got the Morkies here in the back taking a nap. So we are going to go for it this time. Hopefully, this is going to work. So, thanks for coming in, guys, on this video. I finally got a new topic, and I just wanted to share this one with you. So, it's going to be the same thing that I just did earlier, but I've made that one private. I wanted to start over from scratch, guys. I wasn't feeling it. So we're just going to talk about my story first and how it's going to apply to your life. So, uh, when I was a kid, I went through basically a terrible childhood. My childhood was very toxic. It was very abusive type of thing, right? Probably the worst childhood that I've ever uh, known anyone to have. And I'm not looking for sympathy or anything like that. I'm just explaining the story. So, hey guys, welcome in. If this is going to be the same thing that I did on the other stream, but I wanted to redo it. I wasn't feeling that. So after my bad childhood, um, I ended up being kind of a troubled teenager. I feel like that was the reason why. And, I went through a lot of trauma as a child, so it caused me to rebel as a teenager, and I ended up getting into a lot of trouble with the law and stuff like that, and bad grades, not very good at school, stuff like that. So um, basically, what happened is everything that I went through as a child, right, led me to be a rebellious teenager, and all of that stuff led me into getting in trouble with the law, which led me into doing what I do now, right, with the DMA channel. So basically, everything works out, right? All of this, the steps that you're going through in your journey are leading you to where you're supposed to go, right? You just can't see it yet, right? And so what happened was, uh, if I hadn't gone through all that stuff and then had a really bad experience with getting in trouble with the law and stuff like that, I would have never started the DMA channel, right? I was destined to go through all this stuff in order to get to where I am, right? And I finally have entered the part of my life where I'm done with the journey. I'm not done. You're never done with the journey, but I'm done with a lot of the hard lessons, and now I'm experiencing the blessing, right? So, as far as the DMA channel goes, the first people that are going to be attracted to the message of liberty aren't going to be the people that the system treat well, right? It's not the prom king and queens and the valedictorians. It's the misfits and the punks, people like me, right? Who got the short end of the stick firsthand when it comes to government. That's why, without going through all of that chaos as a teenager and adolescent, I would have never started the DMA channel, right? So the universe is literally preparing you for your destiny, guys. You just have to have faith because God's ways isn't your ways, right? So what happens is a lot of times people get upset because they want things the way they want them, right? And I use the analogy of like a hamster that's in the cage, right? And the the owner usually lets the hamster out of his cage and lets him play and stuff like that. And lately, the owner hasn't been letting the hamster out of his cage, and the hamster's all upset. Why am I not being let out of my cage? I want to go out and play, right? But see, the thing is that the hamster doesn't know that actually there's a cat there now. And if he lets the hamster out of his cage, the cat's just going to eat the hamster, right? That's the same thing with God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. A lot of times, God is protecting us or leading us to do something, but we don't understand it, right? And we think we're just being punished. Poor me, right? Maybe actually God, the universe, is preparing you for your destiny, right? So remember, guys, always appreciate the bad times. And I've talked about this because for a couple of reasons. Number one, gratitude is the number one emotion associated with attracting abundance, right? But be grateful for the bad times because that's where the growth happens, right? So uh, we live in a dualistic 3D reality, right? Good, bad. There has to be a balance. So there's always going to be bad times, but the bad times is where the growth happens, guys. When you get complacent and you get content, that's the killer of growth, right? You're never going to grow if you're just content and complacent, right? So that's a little bit about my story, right? And so when the time came, right, to where I finally decided I'm going to do something different, right? Because I had all this life experience and I was an electrician. I didn't really like being an electrician. It was okay, but I took some time off because I was depressed and stuff like that, and it was time to go back to work. And I this whole, a couple years prior to this, I had been working on my spiritual journey, right? And learning a lot, becoming more spiritually enlightened. And what happened was when it's time to go back to work, I had this knowing, right, that I wasn't going to go back to work. I was going to do something different. And that is when God decided that you have learned enough life lessons. Now it's time for your blessing, if you'll take it. Okay. Because we have free will. So we can choose not to. Because God gives you the blessing, it's not just going to be on a silver platter, right? Like when I started the DMA channel, he didn't just hand me a million subscribers. Here you go. I had to work at it, right? So if you want something you've never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. Okay. So when it's time to go for it, take a chance, do something you've never done. I had this knowing feeling, right? And remember, what you are, guys, is a soul. And what's a soul? Pure consciousness. Okay. Singularity. Your mind is duality, right? Good, bad, left, right, up, down, male, female, here, there. Everything has a duality, right? So the mind is to understanding as the soul is to knowing. Okay. So when you have that knowing feeling, you'll know. You'll just know. I can't explain it. Even to try to explain the knowing feeling is dualistic, right? It's using your mind. That's getting into your mind again. So a lot of times what happens is people will ask the universe for a sign, right? And then they think that they're not getting a sign. So they just, no, I try to ask God for a sign and he doesn't talk to me. Well, he is talking to you. It's just that you're not getting the answer that you want, right? So you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation if you ever want to grow, right? Just like a crab. When a crab will grow and get uncomfortable and shed his shell, right? And then he'll go and find another shell, right? But if it wasn't for that uncomfortable feeling, he would never shed his shell and go find another shell and grow, right? Same thing. So what happens is if people don't get something handed to them on a silver platter, if they're not getting what they want from God or the universe, then they'll just give up, right? And they don't even get their blessing, right? So what happens too is a lot of times some people will take their blessing and they'll start working on it, right? The next thing in their life, the next chapter in their journey, and they'll be making all this progress, right? So we start here and we go have the ending here, right? And maybe they're right here before they give up, maybe they're right here, or maybe they're even like really close, and then they just give up because they can't see how close they are, right? You have to keep going, guys. You have to keep going. And basically what's going to happen is when you go through this journey, right, you're going to get to that point where you know. And that when you get to that point where you know, that's when you go for the thing that you are passionate about. Okay. That you are passionate about. Everyone has something that they're passionate about that you might not even know that you're good at it. You know what I mean? Until you give it a shot, right? You have to at least try. And what you have to do too, guys, if you want to get to that point, is love your old self. You need to love yourself, number one, right? You always have to fill your own cup first, no matter what, right? A lot of times people will look for uh, something else to fulfill them. Their happiness is contingent upon others or upon things, right? And like, I have to have this much money and then I'll be happy. I have to have this girlfriend and then I'll be happy, right? If you think that way, then you're never going to be happy. So you have to learn how to be happy within yourself. Then all those other things come. Okay. A lot of times people think I'll have the money, then I'm happy. And that's not how it works, guys. Fill your own cup first, right? If you have, if you don't love yourself and you have an empty cup, you don't have anything to give anyone else, right? A relationship. If you don't have any love in your cup, how can you give love? You can only give from what you have. You can only teach from what you know, right? So love yourself. But not only love yourself, love your old self. I had this huge thing with talking down on myself all the time and stuff like that. And that's terrible. When you start doing stuff like that, you're just manifesting more negativity into your life, right? So what happens is you have to Appreciate your old self because you are you and you're beautiful. If you don't love yourself and you think that you're bad or that there's negative things about you, and you dwell on those, that's just your mind getting in the way. Okay. Remember, you're not your mind, you're your soul. A mind is a possession that we have, guys, and it's great. A mind is an awesome tool, but it's not who you are. Okay. Don't think that I am this person. I am a spiritual teacher. That's my ego, right? I'm not an electrician, right? That's my ego. You're not a mother, right? You're not a father. You're not a marketing director. Whatever you are, you're a soul. A soul is pure consciousness, guys. So, sorry, guys, I was getting sidetracked. Yeah, so you have to love your old self because that's how you got where you are today, right? Without all those lessons, right? And what we've talked about this on another video, but what the purpose of life is in the spiritual realm, anyways, is just to learn lessons, guys. That's it. Just to learn a lesson, to expand your consciousness, right? And some people actually come down onto this 3D plane to just literally experience the 3D reality, and that's it. You can't wake them up. They're not meant to wake up. They didn't want to wake up. They had a contract, a soul contract to incarnate into this world to just experience the 3D reality, and that's it. A lot of us, though, if you're watching this, you're probably meant to be spiritually awakened, right? And when you get to that point, things start changing, right? Look at this guy. I was pissed off at him because I found a whole bunch of pee spots all over the house and I had to clean all the carpets, man. And I keep my dogs intact. So I live by the non-aggression principle, right? So it's hard for me to cut off body parts on my animals. So, but yeah, guys. So that's pretty much how it goes, guys. Everything that you go through, that you're going through, is leading you to your destiny, guys. And I learned this, but what you have to do before that is learn how to shift the focus of your attention to the present, right? I've said this before. If you learn anything from the Empirical Miracle channel, that's it, guys. That's all you have to do. Shift the focus of your attention to the present moment, and meditate, right? I need to start meditating. I tried the other day and I've been doing bad on it, guys. But once you learn how to do that, guys, so when you're driving, you're noticing your hand on the steering wheel, right? You're noticing the road, right? Because remember what you are, you're a soul, right? You're not your mind. So you're having a thought, right? But you're noticing the thought. You're not the thought, right? You're noticing that you're the noticer of the thought. That's being in the present moment, guys. When you can figure out how to do that, your the vibration just your vibration just raises. You start vibrating on a higher frequency automatically. If you're awake for 18 hours a day, you need to be present for 18 hours a day. Okay, I know it's hard, but uh, try it. What I do is I put sticky notes, and I learned all this stuff from Kurt Johnson from New World All Star. So check him out, guys. He does a lot of twin flame stuff. But even if you're not a twin flame or know what a twin flame is, um, anything that he teaches is beneficial, guys. But I put notes, Sweet Tea seen them. That says "Be present" all over my house. Little sticky notes. Be present. And I'm supposed to take them down when guests come, but they don't even work anymore because I forget about them. So I need to take them down and put them in new spots or something like that. But it'll always be a reminder, guys, to just be in the present moment, right? And when you're meditating, all meditating is, guys, is being in the present moment for an extended period of time because you're just focusing on your breathing, right? Letting all your thoughts go because you're not your thoughts and you're just being in the present moment for 20 minutes straight or 30 minutes or however long you meditate. And when you do that, it raises your vibration and you become more spiritually enlightened, guys. It's really so simple. Like people think, oh, all this stuff that you got to do to be spiritually awakened, you got to balance your chakras and you got to, get your crystals and all that stuff. I mean, that's all just metaphysical stuff, guys. I mean, that stuff's great. tarot cards, all that kind of stuff. It's great. But I mean, really, true Zen spiritualism is really simple, guys. That's all it is. It's just shifting the focus of your attention to the present. It's being present in the present moment. It's being conscious, right? So like when you're cooking your dinner, right? And you're sitting there and you're cutting your vegetables, people will be thinking about like an appointment they have, like they got their dentist appointment coming up, or they got this deadline, or something that happened 10 years ago. That doesn't matter, right? 99% of the thoughts you have, guys, don't matter. They're just useless. Your mind just goes on and on over everything, right? Think about it. You're always just thinking about stuff, and I'm bad at it too. And Sweet Tea will pull me out of it sometimes. She'll tell me to be present, but I get caught up in my head because I'm working so hard, right? And I'm just thinking all the time. Get out of your mind, guys. Anytime you can think of it when you're cutting vegetables, just notice the sound of it hitting the cutting board, right? Notice the feel of how it feels to cut through the carrot. Be present. When you start doing that, that's when you'll get to the point where God will say, here you go, here's your blessing, right? And nobody knows when it's going to come, right? So that's why I said don't give up. You might be really close, so don't go backwards, right? So yeah, guys, just remember that. That's just a little kind of my own story that I wanted to share of how everything that I did through my entire journey led me to this point, to where I am now. And I'm really just beginning now. I'm just on the very beginning end of my blessing, right? The blessing part of my life now. So remember, guys, the the harder the journey, the greater the blessing, right? The bigger the blessing. And the blessing always comes after the lessons learned, right? When you're learning the lesson, it's a nightmare, right? You hate it. So just always keep that in mind, guys. That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn lessons. That's it. Because we are a sliver of source or God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And we are here to experience ourselves in this 3D reality. That's all we are. We are God experiencing ourselves. We're all the same, right? So, all right, guys, thanks for coming in on this one. We got John Eagle in the house. Sweet Tea Audits, of course, is in here. Heather Holt stopped in. Aurora Transparency, thanks for coming in. To the Salty Explorer, appreciate you guys. Got 3 people in the chat right now, so I appreciate everyone's support on the Empirical Miracle channel, guys. Sorry, guys, my thing does that sometimes. So I just wanted to say thanks, guys. So remember to be present. All right, guys, thanks for coming in. Love and light.